Hello. This video is going to be about psyche fragmentation and healing that fragmentation. So I'm going to discuss, first of all, an idea of what the psyche is. It's from sort of Freudian therapy, Jungian therapy, the idea that there is a collection of sort of spiritual, psychological, emotional, personality, and history kind of all combined into this entity that we call the psyche. And the psyche also is like a part of is the unconscious mind, a part of the unconscious mind that holds symbols and images and metaphors that kind of are a non-linear way of thinking about our life and our feelings and the people in our lives. So getting in touch with your psyche or becoming aware of what your psyche might be, it's an unconscious formation, it's a mental formation, but it can be a useful vehicle for working on different states of being and awareness about different states of being. So I think it's beneficial to think of things in terms of a psyche, but that's just me. But anyway, so if you have a psyche, the idea when a psyche fragments, it's like it was a cohesive whole, but then different events or different relationships caused it to shoot out into many different pieces and not feel like it's all connected. So what can happen is if you have a trauma or if you have chronic PTSD from abusive relationships. So anywhere where you're going to feel overwhelming emotions that are just like too much for the system to handle. And if you feel an overwhelming emotion that's too much for the system to handle, there's like going to be this breaking apart inside. So we kind of open up more than we're able to open up than what's healthy to open up, and just kind of release all the psyche out into different pieces, out into the quote universe or the world, just like in also like in your own sense of mind, your insides basically like go out into the further reaches of your mind and don't feel as directly accessible to you anymore. Whereas if your psyche is cohesive and whole and connected, it feels accessible to you, like you can connect to that part of yourself. But if it's fragmented, it feels like it's all out there and it's hard to find and you feel kind of lost and sort of, it's very spacey, or you might feel like you have a hard time handling things that happen or processing things that happen because it's not all together. You don't feel like you're all together. You feel like you're like all apart. So it's very frustrating and upsetting and irritating to go through life feeling like you're in this fragmented state. So I've been working on that for a long time. I feel like I made significant progress with it. It does have to do with emotions. But there's this idea, there's something called internal family systems, and that has to do with seeing yourself as parts. So like that we have different parts of us, and all these parts work together to create a coherent whole. And I found it very helpful to apply internal family systems to psyche fragmentation. And think of all these little fragments of myself that were out in the either and the other, that like each was a part of me that held something special, that held memories, that held relationships, that held events that happened, or emotions or ages of myself. So when I would identify a part of me that I felt disconnected from, I would see it as a fragment, and then I would work to connect to that fragment. So I would try to understand, what is this part of me that feels really separate from me or away from me? Can I connect to that part by understanding it better, understanding what drove it out, what emotions that part holds, and how that part sees the world, and how that part is relating to me, like as I see myself. So there was a lot of like trying to take both roles, you know, experiencing myself in relationship to the part, and then being the part in relationship to what I know of as myself. So I was trying to, you know, create a bond between me and that part. As I did that, over time, it would start to integrate. There would start to be more listening. There would start to feel more of a flow between me and that part. And then that part would begin to become closer and closer and closer, and would reintegrate into my core self, like into the feeling that this is me, this is a part of me, this is a way that I feel sometimes. This is, you know, this shows up in my life, this part of me. So then that it would make more sense, and it would feel like it clicked in and connected. And so that's basically the process. And I did that many times over several years, probably like six or 7 years, maybe even more, 8 years, 9 years, to be honest. Like finding those parts and reintegrating the parts into my core self. And then it's just like when you don't feel fragmented anymore, you feel whole, you feel collected, you feel like you're all on the same page. Like you can get yourself to, like if you had a bunch of eyes, they're all looking the same way. Like all the parts of you are agreeing on things, and you don't feel the same sense of inner conflict. Like I noticed that was a really big difference. I felt much more harmony inside and less conflict than I did before. Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. I'm going to do a different video about internal voices. So stay tuned for that. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.